Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Studio City Neighborhood Council regular board meeting. It's Wednesday, March 16th. I'm your host tonight, Scott Mandel, Board Vice President. Randy Freed, Board President, cannot make it tonight, so I'm going to be running the agenda. We're going to start off by call to order, which I just did, and now roll call. Brandon?
All right. Kim Clements.
Here.
Dean Cutler.
Here.
Randall is not here. He's absent. Ira Gold.
Here.
Jeff Hartwick.
Here.
JJ Hoffman. Not yet here. Julie Houlihan.
Here.
Lisa Karagian.
Here.
Laura Corian.
Here.
Scott Mandel.
Present.
Brandon Marino here. Richard Niederberg. Not yet here. Karen Sorrow.
Here.
Adam Summer.
Yes. Here.
Here. Alexis Steinberg.
Here.
Abigail Velasco. Abby, I see your picture. I will mark her as here because I heard her voice earlier. We have a quorum.
Great. Thank you, Brandon. Now moving on to item 2, President's comments. Those will be Vice President's comments. So in no particular order, I want to announce that on the agenda tonight, the government officials are going to be part of this item, item number 2. We're going to get a presentation from LA Sanitation right after I finish some brief comments from Allison Arnold and her team. Then we're going to be moving on to the rest of the government officials. Then there will be public comment on non-agenda items, 1 minute for each person who wants to make a public comment on an item that is not on the agenda. Further down into the meeting, we're going to do traditional public comment on the agenda items. So we'll be taking public comment for each agenda item as the meeting progresses. Something I'd like to see in the near future for us, I think we should establish an executive committee to deal with the relevant topics and issues. I'd like to have more town hall events that are independent from these regular board meetings. Given that we have 2 council districts, 2 supervisors, LAPD North Hollywood and Van Nuys both service Studio City. Our congressman wants to speak, even a police captain wants to speak. So we have plenty of public officials, and to keep the meetings from going 3-4 hours and longer, I think we should be breaking them up into more meetings, less time. As far as the George Gascon recall, I felt this was an important topic for us to address. And the Empower LA website does say we can do it, and we can weigh in on ballot measures and state and federal legislation. However, the city attorney advises us that we shouldn't, that it's problematic. So for now, we're not going to take up the George Gascon recall. For those board members that requested business cards, they're ready. I have them. I'll contact all of you offline and arrange delivery. And that's it for the comments. Let's move on to Allison Arnold and her presentation. If we can promote everyone who needs to be promoted. And go ahead, Allison. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it. And I'm sorry that you can't see my face. I'm having a small camera issue here, but you will be able to see the presentation, and that's the most important part. So I'm here from the community outreach team from LA Sanitation, and we are here to discuss 2 upcoming sewer repair projects that will cover your whole area, both council districts 2 and 4. And I'll do a quick round of introductions, and then we can get started with the presentations. So from LA Sanitation, we have with us Tanya Jarrell, who is my supervisor on the community outreach team. I believe we also have Eduardo Perez here with us. Can't see him on here, but I believe he is in the meeting. And then from the Bureau of Engineering, we have our team. We have Edward Arrington and Doug Irvine. We have Jin Wen, and then we have Andrew Reginden, who is going to take us through the presentation for the NOS Unit 29. And we have Thomas Wu, who's going to give the presentation for the Unit 30. And I don't think I missed anybody, but if we have anybody else here from the team, feel free to chime in. All right, in that case, I know we have a lot of ground to cover, so I'm going to go ahead and say, Thomas, you can start sharing your screen and take us through that presentation. And after all is said and done, we will have a space for question and answer, so make sure to save questions. And during the presentation, we will also have information on how people can sign up for the email list so they can stay up to date with everything happening with the project. Take it away, Thomas.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm getting that message saying host disabled attendee screen sharing. So,
Thomas, let me try and share. I tried to fix my site a while ago.
okay.
Okay, let me
Okay,
share my.
hold on. We can
Oh, okay.
we can fix it right now. Give me 1 sec, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead and try that again, please.
Okay,
Mr. Wu.
Thomas. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna try, or Andrew, you're gonna.
Thomas,
Okay,
go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, it's working for me from my side.
Okay.
Well, it says, okay, let's see. Share. Hmm. Wow. Install.
So if it be, I wouldn't do either one of those. If you can push your escape button,
Okay.
okay, and then if you can go up to the upper left corner and hit the yellow button in the middle to the right of the red. Yes, go ahead and do that.
So can you see my screen now?
We're seeing everything you're doing right now. Are you able to click that yellow button with the minus sign?
Yes.
Okay, try to click that.
Oh, I actually just did.
Okay, so let's try this because I think something might be going on your end of the screen with the computer. Just stop sharing and then try sharing again
Okay. Let me
because
see.
the screen looks frozen.
Oh,
You want me to try to share it, Thomas?
sure.
Let me try. Hold
Okay.
on.
There we go. We see that.
You see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you
I
need to
think,
switch to 29 first.
20.
yeah, I have 29 open here. I can't really see how I share them, but I guess you guys can share. I mean, see it.
Yeah,
So
we
here
can
you go.
see it, but we can see Unit 30 right now.
Okay. So go ahead, Andrew.
It's on unit 30, Jen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
still showing Unit 30.
Hold on. On my screen, it shows 29.
Hmm.
Just a sec.
I could try to share my screen as well if that would help.
Just a second. I can get it.
Let me know.
I should have just shared the whole screen instead of just
Also, if we have to come back to 29, we can start with 30 or
I think, okay,
There we go.
Yeah, we see
Good.
29.
now
Good
you're
evening.
seeing.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm Andrew Reginden. I'm from the City of Los Angeles Bureau of Engineering. I'm going to present NOS Rehab Unit 29, NOS being the North Outfall Sewer. Could I have the next slide, please, Jen?
Yes, and if Eduardo is with us, maybe you could make it
LA, okay. The mission of LA SAN is to protect public health and the environment, and they do solid resources, clean water, and watershed protection. And with that introduction to the LA SAN mission, let's go to Unit 29. Next slide, please. Purpose of the meeting, we're going to discuss about the condition of the existing sewer, a typical work site, the rehab method, and we'll discuss the worksite traffic impact, the long-term and the short-term. Short-term is for 72 hours that the area is not open to the public. Next slide, please. And this is the project area. 29 runs from near the corner of Beck and Aqua Vista, running through Chiquita, and then it goes through private property, comes out on Acoma, and then heads out again from Acoma to Colfax, and from Colfax near the intersection of Colfax and Valley Spring Lane, it turns into the Studio Village condominium. Next slide, please. The scope of the work, slip lining. I'll show you a picture of what a slip lining is. The Unit 29 would slip line 3,165 feet of 57 diameter, semi-elliptical concrete pipe lined with vitrified clay blocks. Slip line is done using a new smaller diameter fiberglass reinforced pipe inserted inside the hose pipe. There will be 7 jacking pits for straight segments, man entry for curve and inaccessible segments. We'll upgrade 2 existing maintenance hole. We'll add 2 maintenance hole since the alignment needs more to access the main sewer itself. And then we need to reconnect 5 lateral sewers. This is a good example of what's happening on NOS 29. Look at the corroded. If you look at the right-hand corner top, those are the clay tiles, and those clay tiles are missing on the pipe itself. And that's why we're trying to rehab this alignment of the sewer. Next slide, please. This would be a typical access pit. Basically, we're saying it's 20 by 30 opening, and it would be enclosed with K-rails and everything to protect the public from falling into the pit itself. Next slide, please. This is the hose pipe with the top section being cut off. And as you can see, this is a typical pit. Around it is the shoring that you see. The concrete on the side are walkways to access and insert the slip liner. Next slide, please. This is when they're cleaning the fallen bricks that have fallen apart from the hose pipe itself. Next slide. This is the new pipe that we're inserting, and this would be, as you can see, we need a machine to put the new pipe in and push it in. Next slide. This would be a typical finished product. This would be what we'll see once NOS 29 is rehabilitated. Next slide. These are odor controls. Since every time we open the sewer, there's gases in there that the public would notice. So we would do chemical injection or air scrubber to control the odor around the community. Next slide, please. Now we're going to talk about the worksite traffic impact. The work hours is Monday through Friday, 7 to 4. Night work is as needed, will be between 4 o'clock p.m. to 1 a.m. For NOS 29, the construction schedule is 11/01/22 through 10/31/24. And let's go to the long-term work area. Now we're looking Beck and Chiquita. We'll open up pit number 1, and there's a manhole in there. Beck is a local street. The scope of work here would be to excavate pit number 1 and rehabilitate the original pipe itself. The main impact that we see would be street closure in Beck, but access to driveways and homes will be maintained. And of course, LAPD would require that they have access while during construction also. And the duration for this pit would be around 90 days. Next slide, please. Pit number 2 is on Chiquita, near the corner of Chiquita and Colfax. This, as you can see, the alignment is going from public right of way to private property. Again, main impact is street closure, access to Chiquita, but driveways and homes would, the access would be maintained. The left turn from Chiquita to from Colfax to Chiquita would be closed during this time. And again, approximate days of construction would be 90 days. Next slide, please. This is an enlarged one. I just wanted to show you exactly which 2 properties are being affected immediately after the alignment goes into private property. As you can see, again, you can see that the left-hand turn from Colfax to Chiquita would be impeded once construction starts. Next slide, please. Long-term area 3, this would be on the corner of Colfax and Acoma. This would be pit number 3. And again, same impact, street closure, left turn from Colfax to Acoma would be closed, but driveways to homes. And if I think on this part of Acoma, there's a lot of apartments. So, and then the duration again is 60 days for this area. Next slide would be area pit number 4. This would be the enlarged one. As you can see, pit number 4 and 5 is on Colfax, which is the greatest impact of NOS 29 to the traffic of the area itself. Next slide, please. Long-term area number 5, again, the pit number 5 is open. There's a drop manhole that we need to replace. There's a lateral that's coming into here. Those are the work that we're looking at. Same impact. The lanes would be reduced. When it comes close to the excavation, the bike lane and the traffic lane would be combined, and that would be our solution, so we don't close the bike lane. We were planning to close the bike lane, but LADOT pointed out that it is best for the community that we keep the bike lane open. Duration here would be 60 days. Now for the short term areas, this would be the enlarged, this would be the same as the other one. Short-term area is like we're gonna open trench the curve and we're gonna connect the local sewer. This would be the 2 main thing that we're trying to do, and we want to install a trap house connection also on this short-term area A. Next slide, please. Short-term B would be the installation of the local sewer. LA Sanitation wants to move direct connection to the main sewer and transfer it to a local sewer to reduce the possibility of odor problems for the community. This would be the scope of work for this section would be the local sewer we're gonna add 2 maintenance hole for that local sewer and a trap maintenance hole also that goes into the main sewer itself. Next slide, please. Short-term area C, this would be into Chiquita and Colfax again. We're opening the curve section since we can't push the new pipe into the curve section. We decided that it's best if we do an open cut on this one. So it would be a shorter time to rehabilitate and be able to close it up and give the community their street back. Again, we wanted to install a trap house connection on this location and reconnect an 8-inch lateral on Truce Avenue. Next slide, please. On D, short-term D, again, we're opening a trench on the curves to rehabilitate that part of the alignment. And we need to install trap house connection. By the way, trap house connection is to reduce the odor that's coming into the private property from the main sewer. Since this house connection that we're trying to put, trap house connection is directly connected to the main sewer itself. Next slide, please. Short-term area E, that's on Colfax. Again, the main thing that we're doing here is putting a trap house connection, and there's some lateral that we, on Acoma and Colfax, there's a lateral that's coming there, coming into play that we need to reconnect. And next slide. And what to expect during construction. Odor is the main problem that we want to control. The noise, dust, vibration during construction. We're also trying to mitigate that. Driveway, trash, delivery access will be maintained at all times during construction. And after 5 p.m. and weekend, if there's a problem, they could contact LA Sanitation, and the phone number is listed. And since the schedule that we have could change due to weather and unforeseen situation that we encounter during construction. Still, the project is on design phase, and maybe we're wrapping it up. Basically, what I showed you is what the project is all about. And with that, the contact to the community outreach group, Allison is our contact. And
my phone and my email on there. Feel free, anybody with any questions, concerns at any time, I'm always here to answer those and address those. We also will have an email list for the project. If anybody wants to go ahead and sign up for that, just go ahead and email me and let me know that you'd like to be added to the NOS Unit 29 and or 30 mailing list, depending on which one you'd like to be on. You can certainly be on both. I will start sending out regular updates several weeks in advance of the first work item to let everybody know what that will be and what to expect. And then after that, the email will be weekly to bi-weekly, just giving regular updates, including notice of any new or different project impacts, and also just kind of letting everyone know about the construction progress and the milestones that we've been hitting. And then you can subscribe or unsubscribe at any time. The email will come from a mail server, something like MailChimp, but all you have to do to unsubscribe is just shoot me a message, and I'm happy to do so. Please feel free to distribute this information around. If you have any friends or neighbors who aren't able to join the meeting that you think might be interested, just have them send me an email, and I'm happy to sign everybody up.
And that will be the end of Unit 29. Any questions? And with that, I'll hand it off to Thomas to...
Oh, I do have one question. Andrew, I think Julie had her hand up, I think.
Oh, okay.
Unmute.
She's on mute.
So I have two questions.
Okay.
One would be, how do you get the word out to the public that this is happening? And two would be regarding the Colfax closure. As I'm sure you know, there's 3 pretty major schools on Colfax. So I was wondering if the timing of that could be in the summer, or if you've thought about when you might do that phase of the project.
That to pin it down to a definite timeline on Colfax would be dependent on the contractor that we get for the project itself. To control the traffic, LADOT is requiring us that we put cones and redo some of the lanes. So before you approach the construction site, you're given a heads up. As to the schedule of school, I don't think so. I don't think at this point in time we could control that, since we haven't awarded the contract yet. But we could always tell the contractor to either delay Colfax and do it last, or we'll try and reach out to Allison and inform everybody on what's happening, just to alleviate any safety concern that they have.
Exactly. That'll be a really close coordination that we'll be doing with all of those schools. So, generally in projects like this, and we've done a lot of them that have close proximity to school activities, and we're just in constant communication with the principals and officials. We provide lots of information to distribute to, parents, staff, whoever it may be that needs them. Of course, if it's possible for us to do things where we work around the school schedule, that's always, what we'll try to do. As Andrew said, it's at least somewhat dependent upon the contractor's scheduling. And since we haven't awarded one yet, we don't really know what they kind of foresee as far as that goes, but we will definitely be working with them. And then in terms of just general outreach to the public, we do pretty broad scope in-person flyer canvassing before the start of the project. So we'll cover everyone within a pretty broad range of any of these traffic impacts. And then obviously that flyer will have the information so that they can join the email list. The emailings are going to be, the most regular updates, obviously, because you can send those every week or every 2 weeks and things like that. But also in advance of any specific impacts at different locations along the alignment, I'll get out there again and do in-person notifications, knock on doors if necessary, if we're doing anything that's going to be, blocking any access or anything like that. Obviously, we'll make contact in person with those people. So just a lot of communication and notification throughout the project to keep everybody up to speed on what's going on. And then also we will be sharing project flyers with the council districts so that they can also distribute to everybody on their list.
Let me jump in here for 1 second. I just want to remind everybody that we are going to provide all the information that you just saw, including the contact information, email addresses, and tentative dates. It'll be on our website, it'll be in our social media, it'll be in our emails to our stakeholders, the people that we subscribe to. And as we just heard, the exact dates and specifics are going to change. There's one more part of the plan they want to talk about, but since we started with questions already, I want to move first. We have some members from the public that have their hands raised. We'll give them each a minute, then we'll go back and let you finish the rest of the presentation. And if there's any specific questions for the second half, we'll then go back to public. So let's just go down the list. Go Puppet has his hand raised. So Go Puppet, 1 minute, go ahead.
And it's not a hand, sir, it's a hoof. People discriminate against us animals, yes. So I see it's a rather large project for such a teeny tiny little residential area. Rather than do that, why don't you put these people on a septic system? It would be far less money. And think of all the money the homeowners would save. What do you mean? Well, if they're on septic, they wouldn't have to pay trash fees, and they would never have to pay a sewer service charge on their DWP bill ever again at 1/20th of the cost. So why don't we do it? Come on, give these nice people a break. Put them on septic. What do you say? I think it's a brilliant idea. Excellent. I make the motion.
And that's time. Thank you.
And now Rudy, go ahead.
Thank you, Scott. Good evening, everyone. Andrew, I heard your presentation and it was, I apologize for being such a harsh critic, but I just heard a bunch of gobbledygook and, clean water, storm drains and things of that nature, and which is all admirable. And I think it's important that we talk about this, but the reality is the city of Los Angeles and public work agencies, they can't even keep the city trash cans properly emptied and, trash out of the gutter and all of this other stuff. The bioswales in North Hollywood and Lancashire are filled with weeds and garbage and trash. I mean, the low hanging fruit is not even being tended to. And how do we expect that this project, which is probably going to cost a lot of money, what's the point of doing this when we can't even do the things that are really easy to correct? Can you ask us, can you just simply answer, what is this project expected to cost and how soon will it be complete?
And that's time. Thank you.
The estimated costs, are we allowed to give the estimated costs, Jen?
Yeah, the estimated construction cost is around 12 million. I think it will last like 24 months. I can't speak to other agency, but all our project has been successful to rehabilitate those aged and damaged the infrastructure just to keep public safe and healthy. So that's our goal. I hope I answer your question.
Thanks. Let's move on to caller ending in 018. Go ahead.
Hi, it's Barry.
Oh.
Let's just be thankful that our city is doing anything to improve nearly 100-year-old sewer lines. I'm just thankful to hear anything regarding infrastructure. And at this meeting, we generally hear people complaining about how the infrastructure is not maintained. But I am curious, you said you would flyer the neighborhood. Don't you send out notices like the planning department does via the US mail? It's my recollection from other projects in the area.
I think it is a question to Allison. I think we do. I don't know if we do the US mail, but we do. I think we do the door handle or something. Is that correct, Allison?
Yes, usually we do use the door-to-door method. And I found that in the past that actually helps a lot, because if you happen to see people at home, you can really get a chance to kind of dive into the project with them and talk about any concerns face to face. And as I said, we do cover a very wide scope of residences, and it's one of those, if there's an apartment building, we make sure to put one at every apartment. We are doing everything we can to make sure that every single person gets a notice and knows what's going on.
Next caller, Dr. Teresa, go ahead, please. Please unmute yourself.
Okay. I would like to thank the board for all the hard work they're doing, and I would like to thank the city as well for all the hard work they are doing. I had the Toluca Terrace Homeowners Association, and I know how hard I work and we work for our little area. So again, I would like to say thank you. And also, are we going to be discussing the Burbank Airport this evening? I'm not sure of procedure here.
We'll get to that agenda item later in the meeting.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay, well,
Or
that's all.
you can bring that up in public comment as well.
Oh, okay. All right, I will do that. Thank you.
We already heard from Barry. Lionel, go ahead, please.
Yes, good evening. What item are we talking about? The bioswales or green infrastructure?
Pardon me?
What item are we discussing about? Remind me again, refresh me.
The sewer replacement.
Oh, okay. Well, I do think the infrastructure is years, it's really old infrastructure, you know, it's like hundreds of years old. And we need to upgrade our infrastructure because in the past there has been leaks, you know, water leaking and the potholes. So yes, I do believe that we should improve our infrastructure and do more stormwater capture too, along with it, like bioswales and water capturing, you know, infrastructure. Because I know Tree People has been working on this for a while now, trying to get communities to adopt greener infrastructure and to improve, you know, water quality and water capture. And that includes like maybe directing stormwater to be recycled by homeowners and by the city. So thank you.
Thank you. And Tess, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. My name is Tess Taylor, and I'm a neighbor over in Greater Lake. I have a three-part question. I'm trying to cram it into 1 minute. First, we're having an enormous RHNA allocation, a regional housing needs allocation being thrust upon us here in Southern California. That's a requirement by the state to build thousands of units of new housing. What evidence do you see in your department of a population increase and the rate of population increase that would justify this? Secondly, regarding money, budget allocations, there are tons of new developments coming online in the area, including Sportsman's Lodge, among others, the development there. But developers frequently avoid contributing to the cost of infrastructure and improving the infrastructure when they are single-handedly responsible for the density increase. How is your budgeting? How do you see the shortfall?
That's time. Thank you.
You can address that quickly if you can answer Tessa's questions as it relates generally into this particular project. If you can do it as quickly as you can, because you still have the other half of your presentation.
I don't think we're part of any of those questions because we're doing the sewer rehabilitation project. I think that question needs to be direct to other part of the department, I would say.
Yeah.
Understood. George, you've had your hand up. You want to ask something now before the demonstration, the rest of the presentation is finished?
Yeah, well, it's so much as a comment than it is a question. Just want to personally attest to this team's dedication and service to the community. They've come to our office. You know, and there have been very, very receptive comments. We've had discussions with DOT to make sure that you know, the impacted communities, all their concerns are addressed in terms of traffic calming measures. Excuse my puppy in the background. So I just really, you know, want to give them props where you know, credit where credit is due. So thank you, and you know, please move forward with your presentation. It's lovely. Thank you.
Thanks, George. Go ahead, Allison.
Right. So I'll share the unit 30 for that sec.
So go ahead, and we're going to do the unit 30, which is the segment right next to the one that we just discussed.
Yeah, Jean, would you keep this way so that way we can skip any information, you know, so try not to repeat. Yeah.
So we got this one.
Yeah.
That's yours.
Yeah. So once again, this is the North Outfall Sewer Unit 30. And the scope of the work is we're going to rehab about 500 feet of the 42-inch circular pipe, which is a siphon inside of the Radford Studio Center. And we're going to also rehab 1,200 1,200 of the 39-inch, 1,238 linear feet of 48-inch, and 1,600 of the 57-inch. Those are semi-elliptical concrete tile lined sewer by slip lining, which Andrew for his unit 29, he already pretty much demonstrated with some photos. And we're also going to clean the pipe by removing the fallen tiles and debris. And we're also going to install about 2,600 feet of the new 8-inch local sewer and reconnect the existing house connections to the local sewer, rather, which is a big improvement. So won't those house connection won't need to connect directly to our primary sewer. Next slide.
Hold on.
Page number 6. If you
Just a second.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is the Unit 30 project limit. Basically, it's a straight shot in Woodbridge Street from Wissat to Radford Avenue. It also extends into Radford Studio Center. Yeah, if you can, either you can just, yeah, so the condition of the sewer, very similar to 29. It's over 90 years old, in poor condition, especially for this stretch of the NOS. In 2017, during a rain event, there was, 2 vehicles fell into a sinkhole. And it was near Woodbridge Street, east of Laurel Canyon Boulevard. Next slide. Yeah, so this is the CCTV footage. Just give you a rough idea of what kind of sewer condition we have. So you don't see any supposed to be lined, but all the liners are gone. I think if you, next slide.
Yeah, so the next few slides, it's going to be repeat from Unit 29. So I'll just go through pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, once again, it's a typical access pit. Finished product. Yeah, okay, the work hours, also Monday through Friday, 7 to 4, and night work as needed. Estimated construction schedule is from spring of 2023 to fall of 2025. Next slide, please. Yeah, this give you a overall picture. The long-term areas, which we have the pit number 1, which is inside of the Radford Studio Center. Mainly, it's the pit number 2 and the pit number 3 and 4. They're all in Woodbridge Street. Give you a general idea of where all these long-term areas located. And next slide will be into the detail. Yeah, so this is the long-term area 1, access pit number 2. And the impact will be street closure on Woodbridge Street, but access to driveways and homes will be maintained. Duration is about 100 days. Next slide. Yeah, this is the long-term area 2, access pit number 3. It's at the intersection of Laurel Grove and Woodbridge Street. Impact would be street closure at the intersection of Laurel Grove and Woodbridge Street, but access to driveways and homes will be maintained, and duration is about 150 days. However, this is the reason it takes a little bit longer is because this access pit will will be needed to install much longer stretch. Yeah, next slide, please. This is the long-term area 3 at Westside and Woodbridge Street. Impact basically will maintain one lane each direction of the Westside, close parking lanes and on Westside Avenue, and close right and left turns from the southbound of the Westside to Woodbridge Street. Duration is about 100 days. Next slide. These are the short-term areas. So this is showing that the blue line is the local, it will be the 8-inch new local sewer. And at the street intersections, these are the short-term, mainly the purpose of that is to reconnect those laterals back to the NOS once its rehab portion is done. So mainly for reconnections. Similarly, yeah, so it's short-term area 4 to 8. Once again, combination installing 8-inch local sewer and also reconnect laterals to the primary sewer. Next slide. In this area, there is no local sewer, but we still need to reconnect those laterals back to the NOS. Area 11 and 12, we also involve installing 8-inch new local sewer and also reconnecting laterals back to NOS. Next slide. Yeah, similarly for 13 to 15. So by the way, we have a total of 7 segments of 8-inch local sewers. And local access will be maintained by using flaggers and a temporary closure of 1 lane traffic and reduce parking capacity on Woodbridge. Next slide. Yeah, very similarly for area 16 to 17. And yeah, just the local sewer and also making reconnections. What to expect, which Andrew already went over, I'm not going to repeat. Contact info, Andrew also covered.
Yes, and please do, again, take down my email information. I know this will be distributed after the meeting. And now if I could just take a quick second to touch a little bit more maybe on Julie's point from before. We are committed to providing really very robust outreach strategy for this set of projects, making sure everybody is well informed and able to have their concerns heard. In addition to the flyering and email, we'll also have things such as a 24/7 customer care line that people can call any time of the day. We do have dedicated email that they can use to also reach out to us with any questions. In addition to that, we're going to have, updates on the LA Sanitation and Environment website. We'll be utilizing regular social media updates, both through LA Sanitation and also through neighborhood organizations, next door ways, things like that, to try to divert traffic and keep everything flowing as it should. And then also everybody is certainly invited, and we will have more information about this when we get closer to the time. But in advance of each project start, we will be hosting a neighborhood kiosk where we'll come with the engineers, and if the contractor is available, also we'll set up a table. We'll have lots of pamphlets and artwork. We can talk about everything in person. Everybody can come join us and get to know us face to face. And so we would love for everybody who's able to come join us for those events. And I will certainly, be publicizing those again through in-person outreach, but also I will make sure to share it with the neighborhood council so they can maybe let everyone know as well, so everyone can have a chance to come and meet us in person and discuss the project.
That's great. Thank you. We'll get all the information out. We will be in touch with you and our stakeholders and everybody else. We have to go back to public comment real quick. If anyone, I see Goat still has a question regarding the second half of the presentation. So go ahead, Goat.
Yes, and again, I think we're spending a lot of money here. And are we just doing this for tiny little houses? Or are we doing this because we want to make the sewer larger for more development, to increase capacity so more toilets can flush at the same time and put it on the backs of the taxpayers? You people are clever. So just remember, Jose Huizar and Mark Woodley Thomas are going to federal prison to pay for your sins. Keep on stealing. I thought that was beautiful. I'm in tears. Yes, I know. I'm a poet.
Thank you, Goat. Adele, go ahead, please.
Hi, I'm a stakeholder in Studio City, and I appreciate you guys working on the infrastructure and getting better sewer lines. I have two questions. One is, when are you set to start project? I guess you're going to do 29 first and then 30. And my other question is more of a, like, I know that I live on Ethel between Coldwater and Fulton, and like I've had to redo my sewer line into, and I saw all those clay pipes as they're dissolving into the sewer line. So all of the streets have these sewer lines, and these are just like two very small areas, but the entire Studio City has all of this. And these two, I mean, I know they're long. I mean, I know you're doing a lot on Colfax and you're doing a lot on Woodbridge, but they're really a small part of the issue.
And that's time. Thank you.
So Allison, I understand for tonight, we're just talking about these two projects specifically. Perhaps for a future board meeting, we can get someone from sanitation to address the entire infrastructure issue. A lot of people seem to have concerns about that, but in the interest of time, and we have a full agenda, unless you could answer that very briefly, that might be outside the scope of these two projects.
Allison, it's Tanya. I would just say that LA Sanitation does prioritize these projects based on the condition of the sewers. And so we obviously are doing comprehensive maintenance and upgrades of the various sewers across the city. But we do prioritize based on the condition. And we'd be happy to come back and lay out that process for you.
Great, thank you. We'll take you up on that. Thank you very much for that detailed presentation. Everything you wanted to know about sewers, but we're afraid to ask. And thank you so much. We're going to move on to our next agenda item now, which is public comment on non-agenda items. Anybody in the public who has a comment on something that is not on our agenda, please raise your hand and you'll have 1 minute to speak. Rudy, go ahead, Rudy.
Thank you, Scott. I'd just like to start by saying 60 seconds is just not enough time to make public comment and to have some real impact while people are listening and paying attention. But I'll go ahead and give it a shot. We have 2 homeless encampments in our community on Caltrans property. The state assembly member and Caltrans have ignored our request to provide services and get this area cleaned up. It's a public safety issue. It's in a school zone near Walter Reed Middle School. We are requesting that this neighborhood council bring Caltrans to a future meeting and agendize this issue and get them here so they can address the public's concerns. Thank you.
Thanks, Rudy. Goat. Oh, we already heard from Goat. My apologies. Lionel.
No, I didn't do general human.
Okay, go ahead, Goat. Sorry.
Yes. Racist. No, actually, he's an animalist. Oh, yes. So tomorrow is the big day, everybody. the Mosque Courthouse in Department 82 at 12:30, they're gonna kick Herb Wesson's fucking ass out of City Hall permanently. Oh, yes, that's right. Admission is free. Yes, you must go to 111 North Hill Street. And the case number is 22 STCP 00617, the Honorable Mary Strobel. So if any of you see anybody trying to pay her off, contact 213-473-7008. That's the Attorney General's number. No, that's Marquise Harris Dawson's number. Ow! Nice try. Ow! Well, anyway, you get the idea. Goat puppet, stop being...
And that's time. Thank you.
Lionel, go ahead, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't mind him. I know that guy anyway. Thank you. I'm a board member with the Sun Valley Area Neighborhood Council, and we also have a homelessness crisis in our neighborhood. And I think it's a really good idea if all of fellow neighborhood councils work together, because there's unhoused neighbors scattered across the city, not just one district. And I think that if we all work together to provide long-term housing, which is preferable, because if we keep displacing them, they'll be jumping from district to district. Then each council member will be upset, like, oh, why do I have to house? Then vice versa. So each district needs to participate in providing long-term housing, and we could all work together to influence each council member. Mine is Nuri Martinez, because I'm in CD6, and you could work Parker Korean and what's her name, Nithya Raman, I met her before a couple of times, really nice lady, and we had influenced them and to push the city council as a whole, because I understand the frustration of many businesses, residents. I understand, because I'm all.
And that's time. Thank you.
Stephen, go ahead.
Okay, I first of all want to say with regards to these meetings, I have kids in the room, and when someone is using cussing words and that kind of language, can they lose their place if they start cussing, please, or refrain from doing that? The other ones, with regards to the sewer and the homeless problems, with regards to water reclamation, I do see on a very regular basis homeless people sweeping all their trash into the rain gutters. What can we do as we put in this infrastructure, maybe, to also assist in preventing that or enforcing, the laws on the unhoused, or whatever the politically correct term is these days? What can we do to help prevent and alleviate that problem? And also the odor, if we could put a fan or some kind of fan as the construction is coming to suck the odor air out and pipe it up into, somewhere away, because that can be a real issue. Anyway, those are my public questions, I guess.
Thank you. That's time. Scott, may I just address one point he made?
Sure.
Great. So, Stephen, it's the Brown Act in LA does regulate allows for free speech. So a stakeholder like yourself or anyone else is allowed to use that time to speak in any way, as long as it's not threatening someone directly. If you have any further questions about that, you can look up the Brown Act online, or you can send us an email and we can send you some information on that. I just wanted to give you a heads up, just because it's not something that's very common. In fact, I wasn't even aware of that until I joined the board as well. So thank you very much.
Thanks. And now we'll go to Judith. Go ahead, Judith.
Hi. I've been trying to help a sight impaired neighbor couple to clean up a corner where they cannot access the bus stop. And every place I call, whether it's 311 or a different council people's office, I'm being told different people are responsible. So I think it would be really helpful to everyone if there was a public place to post what the procedure is and who has to approve it and what the process is. So when I keep hitting all these roadblocks, I could know, really, is this a roadblock or is this someone who just doesn't want to deal with it? Because I was told by sanitation that the council person for the district has to approve the request. And I was told by the council person that's not the case, and neither have called back. So that would be very helpful.
I'm sorry, can you repeat what that is? Sorry, Scott, if I may, Lisa Karajian. Can you repeat what the problem is? I'm sorry, I missed that. Does anybody know, since she's offline?
Hi, so I'm here. Can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So the problem is I keep getting different information from the different parts of the city I'm calling. The council person.
No, I understand that you're having problems reaching a
Can
conclusion.
we not get into a back and forth right now with public comment on?
But I want to know what the corner
I
that you're
understand.
talking about is.
But we're not doing a back and
No,
forth.
I want to know what the
This-
corner is, Scott.
Lisa,
Stop. No,
Lisa, please stop.
I want to know what the,
Judith, if you email the board, if you go to our website, email the board with your question, we will write you back with some additional information. We can't get into the back and forths.
I'm not asking to get back into the back and forth, so I apologize if that's.
I understand. I'm not saying that you are. I'm just saying
Yeah.
we can provide you with more information.
As to the process to get things
Yes.
done. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. And I believe we already heard from Goat. I'm not seeing any more hands for public comment on non-agenda items. We're going to go to item 4, Treasurer's Report. Kim, please go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I have a few motions here, a few more than usual for treasurer. I'll just jump right in with the monthly expenditure. We'll need a second on this. Motion, the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves the monthly expenditure report for February 2022. May I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And am I just going to totally leave this?
No, I've got
I'm
this.
used to going.
I've got this. I was just writing down Julie's name.
Okay.
Okay, we're talking about budget things. Laura is recused from this, or abstains from this. And also, since Dean and Alexa have not yet completed their training, this is a budget item, so they cannot vote on it either. So I just wanted to make that clear. So, Kim Clements.
Yes.
This is the vote on 4A, by the way, Treasury Report.
Ira, can you put that on the screen real quick if anyone needed to see it? Thank you. And I believe we do need to go on this item to a public comment before
Do we have to?
Uh,
Okay,
maybe out of the abundance of caution,
I suppose.
if anyone really has a comment on it. Monthly expenditure report.
Well, I think Scott, this is just housekeeping, so it's not really.
Great, then let's go to a vote, no problem.
Okay, we'll just go to a vote on this. It's just housekeeping. Kim Clements.
Yes.
Randall is absent. Dean cannot vote on this yet. Ira Gold.
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick.
Yes.
Julie Houlihan.
Yes.
Lisa Karajian. Lisa.
Yes.
Okay, Laura cannot vote on this. No, she's not absent. She's recused. Scott Mandel.
Yes.
Brandon Marino, yes. Richard Niederberg.
Yes.
Karen Sorrow.
Yes.
Adam Summer, has he returned to the meeting yet? No, he has not. Alexa Steinberg.
Adam Summer he's an attendee. I'll promote him to panelist, but
he was gone for a little bit. I didn't see him return. Hold on one moment. Actually, we'll get back to him. Alexa Steinberg. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. You cannot vote on this just yet. Abigail Velasco. Abigail?
Right
Yes.
here, yes.
And let's see if Adam is back. Adam?
Yeah, I'm here.
You're good on this?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I just had the shortest call with my mom, but I had to take it. I'm sorry. It was
No problem.
it was kind of a hurt emergency. So
4A passes.
Great. I'll give a little background to the next one. And this was passed by the Budget Committee, so does not need a second, but generally the budget that we had passed prior, it generally can hold throughout the year. However, I was told by the city clerk's office that there was an item we needed to add on there. The SAS, the web corner upgrade to SAS and the website upgrade. And since we were going to be doing that and talking about it in budget, I took the time to update the budget with things that have passed and that even were paid, things that were from prior fiscal year that have been taken care of, or things that were upcoming that we knew about. So I revamped this and happy to discuss if anybody would like. I'll go ahead and read the motion. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves the revised budget for fiscal year 2021-2022, passed by Budget Committee on 3/5/2022. And again, this does not need a second.
This does require discussion, I believe, since it was a part of the Budget Committee.
So we'll go to public comment and then to a vote. Goat, go ahead.
Yes. So you got your first Brown Act violation on the previous one. Yes. Thank you, Brandon, for getting the city sued. And finally, can you please let Lisa Karagian speak? I mean, after all, she's an amateur musician. You look behind her, she has a $15,000 studio behind her for musical instruments. So if you could let her talk, I was trying to see what she was trying to say. You were treating her like a goat puppet. That's terrible. Yes, be careful. She's a commissioner. She has the power now to do good things or interesting things.
Not seeing any more hands from public comment. Let's vote on this, please.
Okay, we're voting on 4B. Kim Clements,
Yes.
Ira Gold,
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick,
Yes.
Julie Houlihan,
Yes.
Lisa Karagian,
Yes.
Scott Mandel,
Yes.
Brandon Moreno, yes. Richard Niederberg,
Yes.
Karen Sorrow,
Yes.
Adam Summer,
Yes.
Abigail Velasco.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, great. Next, this, a little background is that this was a leftover from last fiscal year, that this is being asked at this time and voted on again in case, and I'm pretty certain that it needs to have a revote, but we have been trying to get monies to SCBA that were owed. This was kind of a long process to untangle this particular previously approved and they thought was paid. At first, it was thought perhaps the check went missing. It's not the case, meaning it got lost in the mail or something was the thought. That's not the case. So I have brought this forth to try to get everything straightened out with the Beautification Association and the monies that they were supposed to have already received. So that's what this is. I'll read it. Motion, the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves the payment of $3,000 for Studio City Beautification Association, SCBA, Vineland Median Improvement Project, approved by the board in fiscal year 2020-2021 as part of matching funds grant from Councilman Paul Krikorian CD2 Neighborhood Council Community Beautification Program, but not submitted for full payment from both SCNC Community Improvement Project Funds and Special Account Funds granted to SCNC from CD2 Krikorian. Special Account Funds payment was submitted and paid in fiscal year 2020, 2021. Can I get a second on this?
I'll second it.
Second it.
Thank you.
Let's go to public comment, and then we'll go to a vote or questions from the board before we vote. Goat, go ahead, please.
Yes, but isn't this really a gift? A going away present from the mighty one, Scott Mandel's favorite councilman, Paul Martin Krikorian, who I believe still doesn't have his bar license up to date. And did you hear the cheer? Did you hear Lisa immediately second it as soon as you said Krikorian? Let's try it right now. Krikorian. Yeah, she's doing a backflip. Yes. So obedient. You have to admire certain people and their obedience to this disbarred idiot that runs around with a fat wife and a mentally retarded family. Yes. I think you should deem it a gift, keep the $3,000, and make the check payable for goat puppet beautification. Oh, I'll second that. Yes. Thank you. And good riddance to Paul Martin Krikorian as he enters his final 2 years of.
Thank you. That's time.
Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, unfortunately, this wasn't followed through by a past board member, and now you guys are taking care of it, but I should comment to say that this section of Vineland intended for beautification is north of the river and still in Krikorian CD2. Thanks.
Thanks, Barry. Tess?
Hi, Barry just answered part of my question, which is precisely which section of the Vineland median is getting this beautification, because we are in an abutting neighborhood council district, and we are working to beautify the Vineland median as well. And we were told before we were redistricted from CD4 into CD2 that we would have to partner with you guys. So what is the exact location of this beautification project, and who's leading the charge on it? I would love to connect with that person on your council, please.
Great question.
So we'll get to that in a second. Let's let Lana ask her question or statement. Go ahead, Lana.
Hi, I just wanted to say a statement of thanks to Kim Clements for staying on top of this issue. It has been quite the ordeal to sort through with the city, and I want to commend her and thank her very much for seeing this through. And as she did mention, this was passed before, but there had been some confusion with how the funds were requested from the councilman's office actually and sent to us and then forwarded to the beautification committee. So Kim is on top of it, and we should all give her a big thank you for that. Thanks.
Very sweet. Thanks, but no need. But thank you.
Thanks, Lana. Let's toss this around. Does the board have any questions or comments on this specific section of Vineland? That is.
I can answer some questions that were
Great.
asked if you'd like.
What specific part of Vineland is it?
This was supposed to be B and D, this particular one. The other one that we had approved this fiscal year was median C. And I can see what may have happened with with this one. And there are rules, apparently the current one I did submit for payment, and it cannot be paid at this time because the project needs to be completed in order to for the city to pay the funds. And B and D, I believe, should be finished, and I still haven't, because I know the money was given from Krikorian's office, although I think his is a grant and it's handled differently, that can be given ahead, and the project that helps get a project started, these funds would not have been able to be paid until it was completed. But it is a quirky thing also in the portal that where things are reported on this and submitted and whatnot. So it was a big, long thing. Anyways, I'm happy to get into more detail, but that's sort of the quick and dirty on it.
Anyone else from the board have a question or comment before we vote, or are we ready to vote on this? Let's vote.
Okay, this will be for 4C. Kim Clements.
Yes.
Again, Dean, Alexa, and Laura cannot vote on this. It's a budget item. Ira?
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick?
Yes.
Julie Houlihan?
Yes.
Lisa Karagian?
Yes.
Scott Mandel?
Yes.
Brandon Marino, yes. Richard Niederberg?
Yes.
Karen Sorrow?
No.
Adam Summer?
Yes.
And Abigail Velasco?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Finally, and I'll give Julie asked the question if these are supposed to be blank, which was a great question. I'm glad somebody actually took the time to look at them. They were intended to be blank, and here's the reason. These were given to me by the city clerk. They had a schedule. They sent out the inventory lists to all neighborhood councils, and these were our inventory lists. And I had to question about it as well. And apparently our new funding rep there was kind enough to go back through all of the purchase receipts in the last couple of years. We did not purchase anything. I think so. There's no change from the last full that was given. I don't know. It seems odd to me that inventory would not be actually going in a physical count. And I had set up a time to go with Barry Johnson. He kindly was going to go with me to the office and do this whole inventory. And in prep, I found out they were blank and inquired, and I have been told we just need that these are intended to be and should be blank, and we just need to approve them. So that's it. She said that'll be good. So there we go. So that's where we are. So the motion, the board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves the fiscal year 2019-2020 inventory and 2020-2021 inventory. I guess I do need a second on this, please.
Second.
Thank you. Who was that?
Richard.
Thank you, Richard.
We can go now to public comment, and then we'll go back to the board. Goat.
Yes, and again, thank you to the city employee that sifted through all of that information. And we need more of you, city employees. We need more of you to snitch. So, you worked on this very well. If you see any malfeasance of any kind, please contact our auditor department, 213-473-7008. The most honest city employee. He'll be interested in hearing about waste, abuse, and corruption. It's Marquis Aristosen again. What are you up to? You don't know, human. You don't know.
Thank you, Goat. Barry, go ahead.
Yes, I was just going to add that from what Kim was telling me about this when we were going to check everything out is that we haven't bought anything in over 2 years. So our inventory hasn't changed. And a lot of the things that we had bought in the past are old enough that they don't even care anymore. So I believe that was sort of part of it, wasn't it, Kim?
Yes. That's from what I read as to the procedures and what you're supposed to count. I do think that may have been part of why these were just blank and are what they are.
Not seeing any more hands. If there aren't any questions from the board, which I don't see any, let's go ahead and vote on this item.
Okay, we're voting on 4D. Kim Clements,
Yes.
Ira Gold,
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick,
Yes.
Julie Houlihan,
Yes.
Lisa Karagian,
Yes.
Scott Mandel,
Yes.
Brandon Moreno, yes. Richard Niederberg,
Yes.
Karen Sorrow,
Yes.
Adam Summer,
Yes.
Abigail Velasco.
Yes.
Passes.
Outstanding. Thank you, Kim. Now we're on item 5, Budget Committee. Lana? Where's Lana?
I just promoted her to panelist.
Great.
But hi, can y'all hear me? Okay. Okay, yay. So maybe you can see me as well. Hi. First off, I'd like to ask Brandon for a little housekeeping on the agenda. I do have a few letters in my last name that need to be corrected for accuracy, if that's necessary. If you could look at that for me, I'd appreciate it.
In the minutes, they're already corrected.
Thank you so much. Okay, and so I'll go forward with my report. The Budget Committee met on March 5th, 2022 to discuss several motions, 2 of which were presented by fellow committees and 1 from the Studio City Neighborhood Council Treasurer to revise the budget for accuracy, which y'all have already discussed. In addition, we had the Cultural Affairs Committee representative Peggy Velasco make a presentation and submitted in writing with the motion that the Budget Committee passed is a request for up to $5,500 to fund the Studio City Neighborhood Council spring and summer events at Beaman Park in April and June. Also, Scott Mandel and Patty Kirby from the Public Safety Committee made a presentation, which is attached with the motion, requesting for funding an emergency staging kit for the Studio City area to be used, and that is in the amount of $6,000. This discussion by the Budget Committee was quite thorough and quite long, and I must admit we did have some very nice and targeted criticism for our length of time that we spent discussing these items and being so particular with them. And I would just like to say, as the Budget Committee Chair, I realize that these are public funds, and I certainly would like to hear from all the wisdom of the committee members and anyone in the public who wanted to comment and offer information for us to make decisions. And though it was a lengthy meeting, we did pass all of these motions, and let's see, should I go ahead and read these motions for you? One you have already discussed, which was the revised budget that the treasurer brought forth with her presentation. Motion A, the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves up to $5,500 for the 2 events as presented by the Cultural Affairs Committee, known as the Spring Event and Summer Event, pending a breakdown from Beaman Park regarding the provision requiring the 6 park employees to staff each event. And Peggy Velasco does have a lovely breakdown of this information. She has been in touch with the park, and she will probably comment on this when she gives her report for the Cultural Affairs area, when she talks about that. I can't hear you, Brandon. Should I read motion B?
I think we need to act on that motion, don't we?
Yeah, so how do y'all want me to proceed? Scott?
Well, it's already a motion from the committee. Was Peggy gonna mention anything about this, or are we just?
I'm happy to present. It's not going to take too long. It won't take more than 5 minutes. It will probably take about 3 minutes.
Sure, just tell us what this is.
Okay, so we haven't had an event due to COVID, and we're very excited. The Cultural Affairs Committee is very excited for these two events. We've been planning these two events since November. Our main partner is Beeman Park and also Paramount Pictures for the first event, the one in spring. So back in January, Beeman Park was only allowed to have about 100 to maybe 150 guests at the park, and they were going to be creating circles for family members. But now, because since COVID protocols have been lifted, the numbers have increased. So Beeman Park is allowed to have up to 250 guests. And there's going to be, they're not going to need designated areas. We're going to have a movie, and the movie is expected to start at 7:45. Let's see, in terms of the breakdown for the budget.
Can you screen share some of the materials that you did with us? Because it was such a good presentation. I don't know if you have them on hand at all. I just think it'd be helpful.
Of course. There we go. 1 second, am I able to?
I don't know. I think it was such a good presentation. It makes you excited about the event too. So
I'm not allowed to share. Maybe
Okay, go ahead. You can do it now. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I tried, but I couldn't.
Try it now. It works.
Thank you, Ira. So helpful. Okay, so here's my little presentation. Let me just move this and make this a little bigger. Oops. So again, my name is Peggy Abigail Velasco. I'm the vice chair. Karen Soro is the chair. These are the two events that we have been working on since November, and we're very excited since we haven't hosted any events, and we're very excited to be working with Beeman Park. They have been more than cooperative and outstanding. We are also partnering, thanks to Julie Monroy, who's representing Beeman Park. We have a movie, so we're partnering as well with Paramount Pictures Studios. So these are the dates, and for the one in April 13th, and this is during spring break, and summer. This is tentative still. And so before, as I was mentioning, back in January, Beeman Park was restricted to allow only about 100 to 150 guests. And now, since COVID protocols are being lifted, now they're able to host the event for up to 250 guests. So there's going to be no more designated areas. People are going to be still, being careful, maintaining their distance. And this is how it should look like. The movie is going to be Clifford the Big Red Dog, being sponsored by Paramount, and thanks to Julie. Yeah, so we have a sponsor for this. What's still pending, and Julie is working really, really hard on this, it's getting the screen projection and sound. So she's finalizing that sponsorship. If she's unable to do so, then it is money that we are going to have to probably pay unless we find somehow another sponsor. This is what we're doing. So we're because we're still trying to be careful. We're still going to provide packaged snacks, soft drinks, but everything is going to be bottled water, bottled juice, etc. I wanted really to provide books for young children. I am an educator, but I'm concerned about the budget because the $2,500 for this event is based on 150 people. So if we're expecting more people, then probably we're going to have to pull money from what I thought it would be arts and crafts or books for children. So this is the breakdown per event in terms of money. The big question has always been, what are we getting for $684? from the staff. And Julie was very clear that the staff, it's only to help out with screening. So I've been talking to Julie, and this is her breakdown so far. There are going to be 2 supervisors on duty. We're not paying for that. That is the park. So it's going to be Adam and Julie. And the SIF staff members, of course, they don't have the names just yet, maybe a little bit closer, and they will let us know who the staff, who are we expecting to have. And the schedule, they're having an event before our partnership event, an egg hunt, I believe. But that is a completely separate event. So the staff are going to be there from 5 to 10, but we're only paying for 4 hours, considering that our event is from, the movie starts at 7:45. So our guests should be arriving at 7:30 if they only want to be there for the movie. And this is really what we're paying for. I'm assuming it would be like an hour before for setting up, and maybe half an hour later. I don't know how her schedule is going to work out, but we're just paying for 4 hours. What are we paying for 4 hours? So she broke it down to they're going to be doing COVID screening for people that attend the event. They're going to set up the movie equipment, the breakdown, and of course we're going to ask parents, or the park is going to ask for families to kindly pick up after themselves. But of course, if there's little trash, which always gets usually left behind, then the staff would also be able to clean up the leftovers. And that is the amount of $684. And I'll go back to the budget. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to Peggy for that excellent presentation. Thank you, Adam, for bringing that up for us. I would like to make a comment in regards to the mention if the sound and the screen were not, if a sponsor was not found for that equipment. This is the first that I've heard of that. That was not mentioned at the budget committee meeting. So just to let Peggy know that if indeed you find yourself in need for more funds, you will need to come and have another motion passed for more money, unless the board sees it fit to make a change in this motion to go ahead and increase the amount of money that would be allotted for this event.
Right, and it's something that's a great comment, Lana. And I spoke with Julie, and I don't know if Julie is on the call. She said that she would attend today, so hopefully she's on the call. I did ask about a deadline. When will she know? And it is still pending, so she doesn't know yet. And I don't know when she's gonna find out. I wish I would have a solid date, because it is also concerning, especially that the event it's right around the corner, and we only have about $400 to spare on this. How much is it going to cost? I also asked Julie, and I did not receive a response. Who is she working with? I did not receive a response. The deadline, when she's got, I did not receive a response. So if Julie is on the call, I would really like to hear from her. I think this will be a great time.
Thank you.
Let's go to public comment and back to the board, and then to a vote. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I think we should table this, yes. After all, we have $17 to go see a movie. Why, we can go to movie houses. And of course, we definitely like the goggles there by Christie. Yes, I recommend strongly, if you're out in public, watch that COVID, wear those goggles and a mask. Oh, thank you. No, thank you, human.
Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that April 13th is exactly 4 weeks away. And it's the second Wednesday of April. So we probably should consider not having a regularly scheduled second Wednesday meeting that day. So all board members are able to attend and help out at this event, as we always do with big events. Thanks.
Thanks for that. Judith?
Hi, well, it sounds like a lovely event and I'm sure there's a lot of work, so thank you for that. A lot of pet owners consider that an off-leash park when it's not, and I think that will be a wonderful opportunity to have someone on site from the city to, at minimum, warn people that they shouldn't have their dog off leash, but ideally ticket. So I'd like thoughts on that.
And Tess, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Lana Ford, I love your little Southern twang and your attention to detail on budgets. And apropos of budgets, if the Studio City Neighborhood Council hasn't done so already, I encourage you vigorously to submit a CIS on Council File 200963. I'll repeat that in a moment regarding neighborhood council elections. The Reseda Neighborhood Council has uncovered a number of, shall we say, financial irregularities related to council elections in the fiscal year 2020 to 21. It appears that taxpayer money in very large quantities has been mismanaged and squandered, and this directly affects you and all of us. If the neighborhood empowerment or the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment can't manage and account for the money they have, there's no basis to give them more. The findings in this report need to be explored. I encourage you to submit a CIS calling for independent financial and performance audit, which has already been done by a number of.
Thank you, that's time.
And Brandon Pender, go ahead.
Yes, I would like to have probably the budget more scrutinized as far as what we're getting for the money. I didn't get a chance to get a really good look at that breakdown of the money that will be spent and what I guess was provided by the park, because dealing with a government agency, they do as little as possible for whatever money you give them. Also, with the COVID protocols now being pretty much relaxed on outdoor events for people of that number, I think that some of the stuff that they're going to be doing is going to be unnecessary and probably use them for other areas. So, I think that really needs to be more scrutinized and maybe redone as far as if we pay you this, what are we going to be getting? And to try to go beyond what they normally would do if you pay them money, because it's like I said, they try to do as little as possible for whatever you get them, because it's.
And that's time. Thank you.
Did we already hear from Goat on this issue? His hand is still up. Refresh my memory.
We did. We already heard from
Great. Thanks. So let's go to the board. Let's just go in order. Ira, Julie, go ahead.
Great. So I'm curious to see specifically what COVID screening are they handing out? COVID tests? Are they doing their temperature checks? Also, if they're going to be doing COVID screening, does that mean that they're going to be stanchions around the park so there's only one entrance, one exit, so that everyone gets to be screened? Or is this just kind of a public service, so anybody that wants to come over should do it? I mean, is it that big of a deal if it's outside? In my opinion, no. But if they're using that to kind of inflate their price, then I'd like to know it. Also, I think without knowing if we're going to have to approve more funds, it's a little challenging to vote on this. Again, I was on the committee. I love these movie nights. I want to see it happen, but we also have to know how much we're spending. Thank you.
Julie.
Thank you. My question is, how does one get a ticket to this event, and does it cost or is it free? And if I'm the 251st person, am I out? How does that work?
Sure, go ahead, Lana.
So Julie, any of the funds that the neighborhood council uses for events, it must be free to everyone in the community. So this is free and anyone is welcome to come. I did ask at the time it was presented, they still had a restriction on the number of people who would be able to attend. However, that has been changed. And in the past, depending on the title of the film for movie nights in the park, we've had anywhere varying from 150 people to 400 people. So it's kind of anyone's guess, how many we might see, though Peggy did mention in her report that they anticipated 250 people now, that some of those restrictions have been changed with LA. And I'm so glad Ira mentioned, and Brandon also touched on, about the details from the park of what they would be responsible for. And yes, I think that things will have changed for COVID screenings for outdoor events. That may not be necessary use of the park employees that we're paying for.
Richard, go ahead, please. And then Karen.
Yeah, I just want to say, in the past, we've had a number of these. I was the operator of the video projector and the video disc and sound systems, and we did not have paid staff. Also, we were able to get the projector and DVD, the whole setup came from the console office. Things may have changed, but I'm sure that some console office would have this stuff so that wouldn't cost us. Thank you.
Karen.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that we may be able to get the council to help us offset some of the costs, and also, COVID is relaxing. Also, in terms of voting for the motion, this is the maximum cost that it would be. It's possibly going to be less than this, and any funds we don't use will go back into the budget. So just to be clear on that, this is the maximum cost it could be. And, I think it'll probably be less than this. So thank you.
Thanks. I think we can take this for a vote. It sounds like a really good project, although not every single detail is completely ironed out to the penny. I don't see any problem going ahead and authorizing this and letting our committee and hopefully some board members as well pitch in and help. We haven't had any events, and I think this sounds like a Brandon.
I have a question really quick. Okay, this would be for the spring events. However, the summer events, considering the time of the summer events, would the next year's budget have to be applied to the summer events? Would our current budget be able to carry over into June if it's a new fiscal year for us? Or would we have to split the budget between the budget we currently have and the budget we're going to have come June, July?
Lana, do you want to answer that?
I would like to take a try at answering Brandon's question. So what I understand is any of this money that would be set aside with a budget that's passed would be able to be rectified when we close our books by June 30. I don't think that anything should prohibit us from being able to use these funds from this budget cycle. And we're going to lean on Kim to make sure that happens.
I just want to add that the last the last date to be able to submit a payment request through the portal is June 20th. So that is important to remember as well for this fiscal year. So, I'll work hard at that time to get things pushed through if anything's lagging. In fact, I was just thinking about, it's a good question, Brandon, because I was thinking again about what is the date for the summertime? I think it's June. June what? Peggy, can you answer that, or Karen?
It's the 13th, I believe.
The second one is June 18th, I believe. June 18th.
June 18th. Sorry.
19th, did you say?
18th, 1/8.
Okay, 18. Okay, great. We'd have to immediately get all the receipts to be able to make it for this fiscal year.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, not seeing any more hands. I think we're ready to vote on this.
Okay, we're voting on 5A. Again, Dean, Laura, and Alexa will not vote on this. It's a budget concern. Kim Clements,
Yes.
Ira Gold,
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick,
Yes.
Julie Houlihan,
Yes.
Lisa Karagian,
Yes.
Scott Mandel,
Yes.
Brandon Marino, yes. Richard Niederberg,
Yes.
Karen Sorrow,
Yes.
Adam Summer,
Yes.
Abigail Velasco.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody. On the next item, this was
I wanna
brought,
thank Abby for that. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Lana.
this was brought to budget by Public Safety. I'm going to give a very quick introduction, and we have two highly qualified professionals, Christy and Chin, who are going to then take it after I make a quick introduction. This is $5,000 for Cert kits, Community Emergency Response Team staging area kits. These are going to be involved with training, and they will be used when it hits the fan and we need the kits. We need trained people who know how to use what's inside the kits. And these are going to be our volunteer first responders, because the fire department is not coming to help. And we need to start off with 2 kits for Studio City. And we're hoping each year there'll be 2 more and 2 more and 2 more. And eventually we'll have them all through Studio City. Sherman Oaks is doing the same thing. Other neighborhood councils are doing it. The city councils and the mayor's office, they're not funding this. We have to fund this. And when the emergency happens, you're going to be really glad that you approve this and that we have trained volunteers. So Chin and Christy, please take it away. And let's be, of course, thorough but quick. Thanks.
Well, Scott, I want to say that I think you ran through it very, very well. I think you laid the entire base for what we want to do. We want to establish what we call the neighborhood team program in the Studio City area, just as we have in other communities such as West Adams. We're working on it in San Pedro. We're working on it in Miracle Mile and other areas. And we've had support from our neighborhood councils there. These staging kits that we're talking about, we actually have them in place in our West Adams area, and it has been a very successful deployment. We have teams that use them, and they can be effective throughout the city. I think that's what I'll say. I'll let questions kind of guide me as to where everybody wants me to go, but those are my thoughts on it, because I know Patrick Botts Forbes also presented on this.
I'll say that Patrick is also in the list if you want to make him a panelist.
Mm-hmm.
Chin, do you have the presentation?
I do not have the presentation. I think Patrick would have it.
Oh, okay. Well, if you're not familiar with CERT, it's a Community Emergency Response Team. And today I thought I would represent CERT so that after a disaster, if you see someone dressed like this, they're here to help. And in Studio City, and I'm in Sherman Oaks and in Encino and Valley Village, there are a lot of CERT teams that have been trained. And we have CERT classes coming up in the near future now that we can do in-person events. So there will be some more CERT classes, more people trained in the neighborhoods. And I think also on this call, you've got 2 CERT battalion coordinators that are going to work with the public to actually do the training and use these CERT kits. So it's not something you're going to buy and it's going to sit and not be used. What we love to do is train and practice with people in the neighborhoods and get them out, get them to the park, get them working with the radios and using the forums. And that is something that as CERT, we will help your neighborhood people who may not know what CERT is, get this training, get out, get to know their neighborhoods, map the neighborhoods and see what's in your area that could hurt you or what could help you. Are you near power lines? Do you have pools in the neighborhood? What's in your immediate area? And so we're going to be going neighborhood by neighborhood and just sort of checking in with everybody and then doing these drills. So Patrick's on, he could probably talk about how we've used these drills with other neighborhood councils in the city.
For those of you who are not familiar with the Community Emergency Response Team, it's free training taught by the fire department. They then appoint battalion coordinators who are volunteers for the fire department Chin, Christy, and myself, we're all bureau coordinators. And then as she mentioned, there's battalion coordinators who work more to the local area, such as the Studio City area and the surrounding communities. But one thing that the CERT training says is that after a disaster, you're going to go to your local staging area. What hasn't happened ever, to my knowledge, is any concerted effort to define these staging areas and really say where they are and what needs to be at a staging area. So that's what we've done. We've created the neighborhood team program to really take the CERT training down to the block level, down to the neighborhood level, and really define some of the things that have been left up in the air. And part of that is the staging area kit. The staging area kit should contain everything that you need in the first 3 hours of a disaster. So if you go to the defined staging area and there's a kit there, it's going to have a whiteboard, maps of the area, clipboards, pens, forms, all the CERT forms that you need. In addition to that will be radios and medical resupply. So if you're trained, you're going to go with your disaster bag. If you start bandaging and doing first aid on people, you're going to burn through your supplies. The staging area kit will have resupplies, so you can replenish your stock and then go back out and keep working. Everyone's encouraged to have a radio, but you're encouraged to buy your own radio and figure it out. And we've seen in drills that results in a real mismatch. Some people come with a $10 radio, some people come with a $50 radio, and they don't communicate well. So we have a standard set of radios in the kit that allow us to train with them and that we know the range and limitations of them and capabilities. So it's really standardized, and this is what we've submitted to you is what we've submitted to all the other neighborhood councils as well. So it is standardized across the city.
Patrick, that sounds great. I'm going to go to public comment and then back to the board. So go ahead.
Yes, and these are neat. This is where ordinary people get to wear costumes and play government officials. Yes, they get to wear pretty goggles and helmets, and then they get to walk up and use a radio and turn it on when they walk in a room, and they sound really cool. Roger 4-2C. Yep, coming to 4. Yeah, we have an incident 421. See? Yes. Imagine the power you can have. And you say, what do you do? Oh, I'm an LAFD cert. Oh, well, come right in, sir. Here's a 50% discount on your Microsoft Office because you're using it for government service. See, Scott? Remember the power of government. When it touches your fingers, it causes you to become a Jose Weezer. It's very, very intoxicating. Yes, it is. Yes.
And that's time. Thank you.
Lisa's drunk with power too.
Rudy, go ahead, please.
Oh, thank you, Scott. I just have a question, and I know it's hypothetical, but if we did have an emergency and the community was scattering to a safe space, if they're vaccinated or not vaccinated, are they going to be discriminated against? Because that's what the Los Angeles Fire Department is doing currently with their employees. And also like to point out that the Studio City Residents Association is doing the same thing. So how do the CERT officers feel about it? Do you have to be vaccinated to get CERT training? Thank you.
And Brandon Pender, go ahead, please.
Yes, this question is for Chin. How you doing, Chin?
Good to see you again, sir.
Listen, I'd like to find out exactly where the equipment is going to be housed. I know that's just a chicken and egg type of thing. I was told that we needed to find out, if we're going to get it, and then I guess you figure out where you're going to keep it at. But I just want to make sure that this is only for Studio City, because the other communities have their designated areas where they're going to be keeping their equipment at. And so I'd like to find out. And one more thing off the subject, I wanted to get my report. So this, if sometime before, if I can get my budget advocate report real fast, I just have an update. That's all.
Okay, thanks, Brandon. Not seeing up Tess Taylor, and then Chin, you can go to answer the questions. Let's just get a question in from Tess. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I looked at your very detailed and thorough budget. Thank you very much. It's not clear to me, is the cost of one kit $5,000? Number one, and the second question is, how can we get CERT training in our area? I would love to connect with the appropriate person for Greater Toluca Lake, which is just one neighborhood over. Thank you.
And not seeing any more hands raised from public. Public comment is closed. And Chin, you can, and Patrick and Christy, you could answer our questions and the public questions as they come in. Maybe if you want to hear a few more questions from the board in case they all overlap, and then answer them all at once.
Can I address the that probably the most pressing questions there about the budget as well as the location, because I think that is what most people are going to be asking about. The budget that was submitted was $5,000, and that is in the cover letter. I explained that the cost of a single kit is $3,300. If we combine the cost for two kits, we can get it to roughly around $6,000. Of course, with the neighborhood purpose grants, you're allowed to grant up to $5,000 without needing additional scrutiny from the city. And so we've specifically crafted the request for $5,000. It will pay for one full kit as well as part of the second kit. How we get to fill the rest of the second kit, that can be done through private grant or private donation or something else. But I think it's important to have at least the one full kit in place. If we can get the second kit partially funded, that would be great as well. In terms of the locations, in addition to the chicken and the egg theory that was brought up, it's also one thing we've noticed. If you have a bunch of responders, first responders gathering at a location, it will attract attention. And so we don't actually disclose where the staging areas are, because we don't want people to go there looking for water, food, handouts, stuff that we're not able to provide there. Those are things that other locations, shelters or Red Cross will provide. But what will happen is, by those people going to the staging areas, they'll actually burden the staging area and stop it from operating effectively. Additionally, if we have equipment staged with 24/7 access, and we say it's at this exact location at this address, there's a good chance that someone's going to break into it looking for stuff. And we don't want to encourage that. So these locations are not publicly disclosed, and this is a public forum. So we don't want to give out those locations.
Questions from the board, Adam, please.
My question was actually we debated this for quite a long time in budget committee. I think you guys are outstanding for doing this. And then for us just to offer our support, I think is a no-brainer. So I'm all for it, as I discussed with you. However, this question is just basic. I wanted to know about comment from the public on agenda items. Are we still going to go back to doing a blanket 3-minute totality comment at the beginning of the meeting? Or was that a one-time thing?
That's not happening in this meeting. I can't tell you what's happening at the next. I don't prepare the agendas. I didn't prepare this agenda, so can't answer that. Kim?
I'm wondering, because I'm not completely sold on this, how many people will, let's say one kit or this 1.5 kit that we're gonna vote on here, how many people will that serve? Either how many responders or how many people do you think could be helped by that? And because this is also, as you said, going to be ongoing, maybe another 5,000 next year and another kit somewhere else. And it's just, so this is just the starter kit and apparently used for training first. And then, so yeah, I'd like to know a little more about how far this 5,000 will actually go, this particular 5,000.
It is geography oriented. So depending on the street layout around the staging area will determine how big a staging area, staging area can cover.
When I say how far, I just mean how how many people will this serve that are hurt or needing help or that kind of thing?
So the staging area is designed to be the center point of the response, and the staging area should service about an area that can be covered in about in the first hour. So we're going to have damage assessment teams go out, determine how big and how bad things are and where resources need to go. And then that staging area will serve as the point where we're sending the resources from. So I can't give you exact numbers. If you have higher density in some areas, the numbers will be higher than the lower density areas, if that makes sense. It's one of those chicken and the egg things, but we're looking for good locations.
How many staging areas would you think that would be needed within the Studio City limits? So if you had 5 staging, does that cover all of Studio City, or 6 or 8? Because then each needs how many kits? How much would we be talking about to fully staff all of Studio City? I'm just trying to think down the line how much this will all cost.
This is Christy. I'm at Sherman Oaks, and we are divided in 7 areas. Our neighborhood council serves 7 different geographical areas. And so I mapped Sherman Oaks, and I figured 1 to 2 kits in every one of the areas, 2 for the larger, wider areas. So I have not mapped Studio City, but if you look at the areas, depending on if you've got a higher density residential area, you might want to put 1 or 2. People will probably walk about a mile comfortably. Not everybody, but in general, people might walk about a mile to get help or to help others. So if you look at your population and the areas with more people or less people, and just kind of see what areas you could serve. So I look in my area as one kit will serve like a mile or 2 radius around that kit. And then I look to see what's around that kit. And I've asked the people of Sherman Oaks in the different areas to identify the areas around them where we could put the kits. And so that we're sort of in that process right now.
Thank you.
And that's part of the process we do with the neighborhood team program, and we'd love to get one set up here. This is only part of the solution. We want to get the neighborhood council involved in helping us set up the neighborhood team program for Studio City, but we do a mapping exercise so we actually get an idea of how well the radios will travel. Because if your radios are only going to be able to go 2 or 3 blocks, then that's the effective range of your staging area kit. But if your staging area can cover a mile radius, then and it's walkable, then that's also a factor.
Brandon and Karen.
I hate to be a contrarian about this, but 2 things. This is public money, but the public won't know whether or not the staging kit actually exists, because it's not like a beautification neighborhood purpose grant where you could actually drive by the site and see results from the money. Here, obviously, for obvious reasons you just explained, you can't say where the kit is, but the public won't be able to see the money being used. That's one thing. Also, the second thing, with the mayor's budget approaching, have you approached the mayor's office, City Hall, regarding this? Because, I mean, LA Sanitation was here earlier and they're talking about $12 million for pipes. This is $5,000 a kit. This sounds like something that city can easily handle. Any thoughts on that?
This was talked about in the cover letter as well. One thing we know, if it's city-owned property, it tends to become unavailable to volunteers. So we wouldn't want the city to own these kits and then say, oh, we can't have volunteers accessing them because it's city property. And we know that would happen. But in terms of the mayor's budget, it was what, 2017 when the mayor came up with the plan to have neighborhood councils be in charge of your resiliency plans, and then provided no funding for it or training. So I would not count on the mayor providing any funds for this year.
Karen and Ira.
So my understanding of this is there needs to be a team leader. And is there one in Studio City?
Patty has been very assertive in helping us get this going. I would ask her to be one of the team leaders, but we don't want just one team leader. We want multiple people. We've had areas where they had a couple people who were great team leaders. Both of them moved out of the city within a span of 6 months, and that team has never recovered. So we want ongoing influx of team leaders, all working together, all training together, and helping drive this whole program together. And then we're here, Christy, myself, and Chin, as well as your battalion coordinators, to support you as team leaders in this effort.
Ira.
Well, two questions. First, I kind of maybe a reiteration, but of a question beforehand, maybe rephrasing. So if we had a mile radius, I'm going to throw out a crazy ridiculous number just for an example. If we had 1 million people in that mile radius, how many people would be served by those kits? Okay, that's number one. Number two, talking about this is the start of potentially bringing in 4, 5, 6 kits at $5,000 a kit. How are we going to approach stakeholders in various communities when the kit's not available in their area within that radius? So what's the process going to be of where we decide where this one kit is going to be before we get enough kits for everyone? Thank you.
You bring up an interesting point, and I didn't catch it earlier. These kits don't directly serve the population. They don't serve the million people, theoretical million people in that area. These kits are everything that the volunteer community responders will need in the first hour of the disaster to get operational and start responding to the community. It's through their actions, and these are your neighbors. These are hopefully even some of you who will be these volunteer responders. This is to benefit you so that you can get operational, and then your actions will help your neighbors out. So it's hard to say how many people this will help, but the fire department created the community emergency response team training back in '86 because they saw the need for this. They knew that at current staffing levels, there are 3,000 firefighters, sworn firefighters in the city of Los Angeles, spread across 3 shifts. So in the entire city, right now, you have 1,000 firefighters on duty. They know that is not a good number for 4 million people. So they know that the community, and we've seen this in every single disaster across the United States, across the world, it is neighbor helping neighbor right after the earthquake happens. Right after the disaster occurs, it will be your neighbors who will be helping you if you're injured. And this kit is going to help those neighbors get organized and actually help you out. I hope that answers that question.
Richard.
Yeah, I've been a Cert member for a great number of years. Also the call-out teams, and I'm fire department, driver's license, all that kind of stuff. And remember, the Cert members are carrying their bags or their backpacks. This is just to refill. Primarily, you know, most Cert members I know have their own radios, have their own backpack, have their own everything, and you're just refilling them as you use them. If you don't use them, you don't need to refill them. Thank you.
Exactly.
Kim?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to withdraw my question at this time. Thanks.
I'll just say one thing before Patrick, Christy, and Chin close and we go to a vote. Just remember, this is also about training. I was certified when Villaraigosa was mayor, and I need to go to these drills that they're going to be staging, these that Christy is dressed for right now, very appropriately, I must say, and brush up on my skills, because I forgot quite a bit. And even if I don't get access to that particular kit where it physically is when it hits the fan, the kit will help me polish and keep my skills up to date, and Richard's and Patty's and everybody else who's been CERT trained, and it will bring more people into the CERT program. Because as the numbers of the firefighters were quoted in the previous comments, there's not enough firefighters, there's not enough CERT members, there's not enough police, there's not going to be enough anything when it happens. And are we going to be committed to spending $5,000 a year for eternity? Probably not. But today the city is not funding this. Next year they might, or the year after they might. And this is just the start. It sounds like you have to kind of, take a leap of faith, and I guess you do. And I guess the best thing to happen is we have a bunch of kits and they only get used for training and never have to be used for a disaster. Julie?
Yeah, besides being a refill station for supplies, is this also kind of a command center?
Absolutely. The main thing is going to have predefined you're going to have maps of the area, predefined damage assessment routes. So when the team gets there and forms up, there's no guessing, there's no having to figure this out. It's all defined and it's been drilled quarterly. So the team that's there already knows what to do, and the maps are there, and they say, okay, we're damage team alpha, and damage assessment team alpha is going to follow this route, and we already know where we're going.
Thank you.
Not seeing any more hands. I think we can go to a vote. I just want to tell the people, the attendees, we already did public comment for this item and it was closed when no more hands were raised. So I'm sorry, we're not going to go back to public comment. So I think we're ready to vote.
Can I mention the classes? Someone asked a question earlier about the upcoming CERT classes. So we are asking that the neighborhoods, the neighborhood councils, if you have at least 25 people who want to take the CERT class, we need you to find a facility, and the group pick the day, the time, and then the fire department will bring the instructors. So if you have any questions I can help you organize them. If you want to send me an email, you can see my name, but my email is LAFD CERT Valley, VALLEY @gmail.com. So CERT Valley, LAFD CERT Valley @gmail.com. If you send me an email there, then I can help with CERT classes, and then we can get you invited to the trainings. We're really happy now we can do these in-person events, and so we're going to start rolling them out soon. It's well known that in disasters that happen across the world, that the communities that are better prepared, they recover quicker. So if Studio City can be prepared for a disaster when it happens, they're going to get through it quicker. Businesses will come back sooner. So preparedness really is, it's a personal level, it's a community level, it's a business level. It's just something we need to do. And thank you for having us.
That was great. But one more question. Do you know if CERT training is, do they require the people to be vaccinated to take CERT training? I believe somebody had that question.
I don't think they do. There's a class coming up in April. Chin, has that been part of the conversation?
That has not been part of the conversation, and I don't think off the top of my head that it is a requirement.
I think they are practicing safe distancing.
Yes, that's exactly what we're doing.
One of the things I think that was a holdup was when they wanted to host the first class at a fire station, they were going to require the vaccination, but the first class is being held at a community center, the Imam Community Center, and that is not a requirement for that community center. So if you choose a location that requires vaccination to enter, then it's going to be the facility saying that, not the fire department.
Great. Thank you for all that. I think we're ready for a vote.
Okay. We're voting on 5B. Again, this is a budget item, so Dean, Laura, and Alexa cannot vote on this. Kim Clements.
I got to go with a no at this moment.
All right.
Sorry.
All right. Ira Gold.
Abstain.
Jeff Hartwick,
A resounding yes.
Julie Houlihan,
Yes.
Lisa Karajian,
Yes.
Scott Mandel,
Yes.
Brandon Marino, I'll say yes. Richard Niederberg,
Enthusiastic yes.
that will come up. Karen Sorrow,
Grateful yes.
Adam Summer,
Definitely yes.
and Abigail Velasco.
Abstain.
What was that again?
Abstain.
Hey. Motion passes.
Brandon, just for the record, I believe since we are recording, the motion would need to be read. I don't believe that it had been read. Sorry.
Scott, did you want to do that?
Bring that up.
Lana, you can read it. It's actually coming from budget, so.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves the Neighborhood Purpose Grant request from the Studio City Public Safety Committee to support the purchase of the Neighborhood Staging Area Kit. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Chin. And thank you, Patrick. And thank you to the Budget Committee for putting us in the Shark Tank when we did our initial presentation. That really helped. And thank you, board, and everyone go get Cert certified.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good night.
Going on to, well, there is no item 6, so we're skipping to item 7 numerically. I'm going to read this, and if Ira wants to put it up on the screen. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports Council File 22-0234, Kyiv, Ukraine, sister city of Los Angeles. The adoption of Kyiv as a sister city is a symbolic gesture of solidarity from Los Angeles to the Ukrainian people that the city of LA stands for democracy and the freedom of speech. Los Angeles stands strongly in support of Ukraine and acknowledges that it has been attacked unilaterally and without provocation by Russia. This motion is to be submitted as a community impact statement to Council File 22-0234. This was being brought by Randall Freed. He is not here, so I'm bringing the motion and Richard has seconded it. We'll go to public comment and back to the board. Jerry, go ahead. Jerry, unmute yourself. I think Jerry's having trouble unmuting. We can go back to him. Goat, go ahead, please.
Yes. What a nice meeting without that piece of shit Randy Fried Chicken. Oh, it's much better. Yes. So, you want to get involved in European affairs, huh? Okay. As long as we amend the motion that you will send your family members between the ages of 18 and 26 as call up to the draft. Want to send troops, Scott? Want to go over there and fight in the fucking snow? Huh? Yeah, I thought so. So remember, people, don't fuck with Russians. Don't fuck with Ukrainians or Iranians. They're all insane. Stay in Studio City where it's nice and warm. Let them worry about their affairs. Goat Puppet is busy worrying about his affairs. Like what? Like eating vegetation, sir. Vote no, or you're going to be drafted.
And that's time. Thank you.
Jerry, go ahead, please.
Yeah, my hand is raised for the previous motion, so I have no comment for this one. Thanks.
And Rudy, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I'm trying to compartmentalize this city council motion as a sort of symbolic gesture, which we've been asking for this neighborhood council to do a similar thing with the Recall Gascon effort. And there's been a lot of feet dragging and discussion with the city council and the Dunn and the city attorney. And if we're going to have a symbolic gesture and support Ukraine, we should probably also support the Recall Gascon effort. And by the way, I don't think the city of Los Angeles supports democracy, and it's arguable if they actually support the freedom of speech. Thank you.
Thanks, Rudy. I don't see any more hands in the, wait. I'm not seeing any more raised hands in the public for this item. So we'll now go, Teresa, go ahead. Where'd you go? Oh, your hand is down now. Okay, back to the board. Public comments closed on this item. Any board comments on this? Let's vote.
Okay, this is for item 7. Kim Clements,
Yes.
Dean Cutler,
Yes.
Ira Gold,
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick,
Yes.
Julie Houlihan,
Yes.
Lisa Karagian,
Yes.
Laura Corian,
Yes.
Scott Mandel,
Yes.
Brandon Moreno, yes. Richard Niederberg,
Yes.
Karen Sorrow,
Yes.
Adam Summer,
Yes.
Alexis Steinberg,
Yes.
Abigail Velasco.
Yes.
Motion unanimously passes.
Thank you. Next item, Government Affairs, Barry Johnson. Take it away.
Should we promote a 018 or his name? Which one is he on? Barry, raise your hand. Which one you want us to promote?
Just do
018. That's it right there. Okay. Your 018 is promoted, Barry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we do. Go ahead, Barry. Thank you.
Okay. Motion A and B have already been passed by the City Council, but as many of you know, City Council files are often reopened and added to and amended. So I think it's important that we still state how we feel on these issues. So motion A, the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council opposes Council File 17-0981 in parentheses 033122 final ordinance because the proposed ordinance takes away the vetting process from the surrounding community. This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement, CIS, to Council File 17-0981. And that final ordinance that I just spoke of basically takes away the community's ability to comment on restaurants changing their alcohol program from, say, beer and wine to full line of alcohol. So that's why I think it's important that we still chime in on this, the fact that they are taking away the public vetting process in this ordinance. And this council file from 2017 has been opened many, many times, and it's likely going to be opened again. So it's important, I think, to get this in. Thank you.
Thanks, Barry. Let's go to the public. Goat.
Yes, and of course, everybody here supports this, especially Lisa. Notice how she doesn't have her camera on? She doesn't want us to see her drinking out of her silver goblet in front of the musical instrument area. Yes. Richard knows, don't you? Yes.
Yes, we know.
Yes, that's it. Yes, see? So again, you know that Lisa wants this. Unlimited alcohol permits for everybody. Yes, let's all open a liquor store in the back of our houses. Instead of calling them ghost kitchens, Let's call them ghost bars. Drink up, everybody. World War III is here. Have a vodka and goat puppet. Are you going to pay for it? No, you're going to pay for it, asshole.
Time, thank you.
Not seeing any more hands, public comments closed. Any board comments, questions before we vote on this item? Okay. Let's vote.
All right. This is for 8A. Kim Clements.
Yes.
Dean Cutler.
Yes.
Ira Gold.
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick.
Yes.
Julie Houlihan.
Yes.
Lisa Karagian.
Yes.
Laura Corian.
Yes.
Scott Mandel.
Yes.
Brandon Marino, yes. Richard Niederberg.
Yes.
Karen Sorrow.
Yes.
Adam Summer.
Yes.
Adam?
Sorry. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm here. Yes.
Alexis Steinberg.
Yes.
Abigail Velasco.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Barry? Barry, can you unmute on 8B?
Okay. Yeah, you muted me in between. I thought I was still on. So motion B, again, it has passed, but I think it's important in case the file is reopened. The board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports Council File 22-0033 to approve $200,000 from the Innovation Fund for a resilient solar-powered streetlights pilot project to, one, reduce city costs associated with copper wire theft, two, address sustainability goals, and three, increase resiliency of the city's street lighting infrastructure. The proposed pilot project would replace at least 50 of the city's street lights with solar-powered light fixtures. In regards to historical street light fixtures / structures, the city must exhaust all available options, including theft proofing, before resorting to solar replacement of the historical fixture structure. This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement, CIS to CF 22-0033. And just a footnote to this, the last sentence in this motion is courtesy of our committee member, Brandon Marino, who felt it was important that we try, and the committee as a whole agreed with him, that we try and support our historical light fixtures and just don't let them be replaced. Make sure they are, they try to adapt them first. So that's it.
Thank you, Barry. Anyone from the public want to comment on this agenda item, please raise your hand. Goat, go ahead, please.
No, I don't want to comment on it. Okay, then don't raise your hand. Ow! Wasting time, dummy.
Hey, Scott, can we address public comment and make this organized as we did in previous meetings? I mean, only for the sole reason of time efficiency because of Mr. Goat Puppet, which
We're doing one, each person gets 1 minute of public comment for each agenda item.
I know, I mean, that's the way it's been for a lot of years, but in situations like this, I think we have to do what we did before to amend
It's agendized, it's not, it can't be changed. I'm sorry. Did Goat, did you finish your minute? Go ahead.
Yes, no, I did. Well, now that we have a hater of Goat Puppet.
No, I'm not
huh?
trying to be a hater. I'm just trying to make this as efficient as possible.
No,
for
you're
everyone.
a hater.
Hang on. Let's not do any back and forth. With
Oh, you know, we have ourselves here an oligarch on the committee, don't we? Like Randy Freed. Yes. Yes. See, Randy Freed's trying that 3-minute poo-poo, just like Encino. They're gonna get
Okay, and that was residual time. Thank
they're
you.
gonna get served with paper.
Rudy, please go ahead.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, I understand this is a, this sounds like a good idea, and I think the real issue is how do you stop the copper wire theft, and as opposed to spending money on an alternative solution. But I just want to take this time to point out that in regards to public safety street lighting, and I brought this up in previous meetings, including Barry's transportation committee meeting, that the streetlights at the Vineland off ramp are not working, and we reported this to Caltrans, and they haven't repaired it. So, there's a larger issue here. There's a public safety issue. I think this is a good idea, but until the city and the state and the county actually address the real issue, then we're going to just be converting every streetlight, anyways. Thank you.
Thank you, Rudy. And Dr. Teresa, go ahead.
I'd like to comment on a goat puppet. Is that his real name? Or
We're talking about, excuse me, we're talking about the pilot project for solar street lighting.
I understand that, but I'm referring to him in relationship to what he continues to say about the issues. So inadvertently, I'm talking about the issue.
Go ahead.
Okay. When you have people on to comment about the issues that are on your agenda, do they have to have a real name, or can they just come on and use any name, Goat Puppet? Is that okay with with your bylaws?
Finish your comment, please.
I'm done.
Thank you so much.
Don't have to have a name at all.
Hang on. So we're on Barry's item. I see no more hands for public comment on that. We can go back to the board now. We're discussing the pilot solar light project. That's the topic right now. Any board comments, questions? Or are we ready to vote on this particular agenda item? Not seeing any hands. I think we're ready to vote.
Okay. We're voting on 8B. Kim Clements.
Yes.
Dean Cutler.
Yes.
Ira Gold.
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick.
Yes.
Julie Houlihan.
Yes.
Lisa Karagian.
Yes.
Laura Corian.
Yes.
Scott Mandel.
Yes.
Brandon Moreno, yes. Richard Niederberg.
Yes.
Karen Sorrow.
Yes.
Adam Summer.
Yes.
Alexa Steinberg.
Yes.
Abigail Velasco.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, motion C. Footnote to motion C. 2 sets of council members came up with virtually the same council file on this subject, and that's why there's 2 council file numbers here to support both of them. So motion C, the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports council file 22-0152 and council file 22-0156 to combat street lighting copper wire theft and identify those neighborhoods most significantly impacted by copper wire theft outages. This motion is also to be submitted as separate community impact statements, CIS, CF 22-0152 and CF 22-0156.
Great. We can go to public comment on this specific item. We're talking about what Barry just read. Dr. Teresa, go ahead, please.
Okay. It was not my intention to comment, but I am supporting it. It's certainly a worthy cause.
You still have more time? Is that all? You have
That's it.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Goat Puppet.
Yes, and it sounds like a good motion, but also to retort, yes, you can't speak at this meeting. You must have valid ID, vaccination, proof of vaccination, and a social security number. Yes, we've submitted all of that. And now we want to see your documents, ma'am. Yes, Goat Puppet, we want the information. I gave it. How about you? I like it. Yes, so do I. I don't like privacy.
Okay. I see no hands, no additional hands from the public. Let's toss this to the board. Brandon, please go ahead.
Just to clarify, I believe, Barry, correct me if I'm wrong, and I know you will if I am. This motion is about anti-theft, whereas the previous motion is more of a long-term solution. This is a short-term solution to find a way to lock those boxes up and prevent them from people thieving copper wire, whereas the previous motion was more of a long-term solution where copper wire would cease to exist at all. Am I correct on that?
Yes, and this, you'll notice most of our street lights in Studio City have the metal plate at the bottom, which seems to be easily able to be pried open. So they need to, make them more secure.
Let's vote.
Okay. This is 8C, am I correct? Yes, 8C. Kim Clements.
Yes.
Dean Cutler.
Yes.
Ira Gold.
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick.
Yes.
Julie Houlihan.
Yes.
Lisa Krajian.
Yes.
Laura Corian.
Yes.
Scott Mandel.
Yes.
Brandon Marino. Yes. Richard Niederberg.
Yes.
Karen Sorrow.
Yes.
So I'm screaming so I can help wake people up here. Adam Summer.
Yes.
Alexa Steinberg.
Yes.
And Abigail Velasco.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
All right, motion D. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports Council File 22-0120 for streamlining and expediting the permitting process for electric vehicle charging stations, EVCS, as required by the State of California Amended Government Code Section 65850.7 in parentheses G in parentheses 1, comma, in parentheses AB 1236. This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement, CIS to CF 22-0120. And this is just supporting something that's already required by the state of California, supporting this council file motion.
Thank you, Barry. Anyone from the public want to comment on this particular item? We are now talking about electric charging stations, electric vehicle charging stations. Goat, go ahead.
Oh boy, this is a good one. Yes, and look at the price of gas. Yes, it just keeps going up, 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 forcing people into electric cars. I have bad news for you. What? Gas is down 37%. No, we have to do something to drive the gas back up. I want $10 a gallon gas. Goat Puppet moves to raise all taxes on fuel 50%. Okay, I'll second it. Yes, I'm an environmentalist. Why? Because I'm an animal.
Thank you, Goat. Michael, go ahead, please.
Just wanted to support the streamlining of the expediting and permitting of the process for electric vehicle charging stations. I've got an electric vehicle and I'm constantly driving the streets to find an available one. So the quicker they can get it permitted, I think the better off. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Not seeing any more hands from the public. Public comment is closed on this item. To the board, no comments, questions, no hands. Let's vote.
Okay, 8D. Kim Clements.
Yes.
Dean Cutler.
Yes.
Ira Gold.
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick.
Yes.
Julie Houlihan.
Yes.
Lisa Karagian.
Yes.
Laura Corian.
Yes.
Scott Mandel.
Yes.
Brandon Moreno, yes. Richard Niederberg.
Yes.
Karen Sorrow.
Yes.
Adam Summer.
Yes.
Adam. Okay. Alexa
Yes.
Steinberg.
Yes.
And Abigail Velasco.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion 9A for the Transportation Committee. I'm pleased to announce that Uproar LA has asked to withdraw this. They had brought this to the Transportation Committee, wanting us to do a motion to the LA City Attorney, Mike Fuhrer, and Fuhrer has done this action. So they said the motion was no longer needed. So I was pleased to hear that. So here's one item we can move forward on, and just a general transportation update. It's that you should all know the CD4 Council Office is still working with the Transportation Committee on trying to solve the backup on Ventura Boulevard at Laurel Canyon in Ventura, leading up to the driveway coming out of Trader Joe's. It's still, the timing is still being worked on, and our signal at Berry Drive and Ventura Boulevard is halfway done, but we don't have an activation date yet. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for that, Barry. So we don't have a motion on 9A. So I believe there is no public comment on a non-event. But I do see Ira has something to add. No.
Is it would it be appropriate to make a general comment that doesn't necessarily have to do with these specific motions?
Not yet.
Okay.
I mean, unless you have like a point of order or something that you want to raise.
No, no, it wasn't a point of order. It was anytime the neighborhood council can has some kind of success like this through a committee chair. I would like to, I think it'd be beneficial just to point it out so that way stakeholders can see that some things are actually happening. And some examples of what stakeholders can utilize the neighborhood council for. This would be one great example. Somebody wrote in, we connected them with Barry. Barry helped and did his magic, and we have a really good result. So I think things like this are really important to bring up. Thank you.
Hear, hear. And I see Lana, you have your hand up.
Yes, hi, thank you. This is not a point of order, but just maybe a little reminder. Our budget advocate may have needed to be called on once the engineering group had finished, since they are also a public official for us. That's Brandon Pender. He's our budget rep for Studio City. I'm not sure if he's still here with us, but he does have some important information to share, and just thought I'd let you know. Also, there is some information that he sent to Randy that should be emailed to all the board members about an upcoming meeting. Thank you.
Great. So Lana is right. We were doing the government officials during item 2, I believe. And if we skipped Brandon Pender, go ahead. If you can do this under 5 minutes, that would be great. We're running late. So Brandon, go ahead.
Yeah, I can do it in less time than I'm. This is Brandon Penner, of course, Neighborhood Council Budget Advocates, and for Region 4, the southeast part of the valley. And I just wanted to give you guys a save the date and also a link to registration. But on April 10th at 3:30 p.m., that's on a Saturday. On a Sunday, we're having the Controllers Candidates Town Hall. So we have approximately 7 candidates who are running for City Controller, and we're going to be having a town hall that's sponsored by the Budget Advocates, Neighborhood Council Budget Advocates. You can register to participate in that virtual town hall by going to either to our website, which is budgetadvocates.org. So budgetadvocates with an S.org, and then click onto that. Or you can go to Eventbrite, which is another, if you have an app for Eventbrite, and go to the Controller Candidates Town Hall, which is sponsored by the Los Angeles Neighborhood Council Budget Advocates, and click onto that to register. It's free, and the registration is open now. And like I said before, it's Sunday, April 10th, 2022 at 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And also you can go to our website and look at several videos and tutorials that we have. We're preparing our latest white paper that will be ready for both the mayor and the city council to peruse and review. And so that's it. That's should be under 5 minutes. And I hope to see you next week with a more detailed. I did forward our written report to Randy to forward to the rest of the members of the board. So hopefully he's disseminated that. If not, you can always contact me, Brandon Pender at yahoo.com, and I will forward that over to you. That's it. Thank you. I yield.
Pacific Standard Time? Question.
Beg pardon? I can't hear you. You're muted.
You said Pacific Standard Time. Are we projecting the
Pacific Daylight Time? Yes. So it's yeah, that would be Pacific Daylight Time, 3 o'clock and Sunday afternoon.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's kind of confusing, but yeah.
We did have public comment for the other government official presentation, so it's only fair to ask Go Puppet what he has to say about this item. Go ahead, Go Puppet. You have 1 minute. Please unmute yourself. Goat, are you there? Goat seems to be having technical difficulties at the moment. I'm asking him to unmute. We are now going to Goat, going once, going twice. Closed public comment. Moving on to item 10A from Public Safety Commission. This is going to be a request for action from Council Member Rahman. So it is not a traditional motion to a traditional council file. It is a bit long, bear with me. I'll do my best if Ira can, thank you, Ira. The board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, requests that Councilmember Rahman designate the underpass at Coldwater Canyon Avenue 101 freeway as a special enforcement zone under LAMC section 4118C2. We thank Councilmember Rahman and the CD4 staff for their efforts in clearing out the homeless encampment at this underpass. The residents and businesses in proximity to the underpass can now breathe a sigh of relief, no longer living in fear, surrounded by criminal activity, trash, open air drug use, and a reduced quality of life. But once an area has been cleared, it is imperative to keep that location encampment free. Otherwise, the cycle of despair will only continue for the homeless and the adjacent residents and businesses. Until there is a citywide approach to the homeless crisis, the special enforcement designation of the Coldwater Canyon 101 freeway underpass is crucial. The underpass has been a public health and safety problem for 2 years now, marked by incessant drug dealing, illegal drug use, and fires. Breathing diesel fumes is also harmful to the health of those camping there. There is therefore ample evidence to support an enforcement designation resolution for a city council vote. Such a designation would prevent individuals from sitting, lying, sleeping, or storing or using, maintaining, or placing personal property or otherwise obstructing the public right-of-way of the underpass. If a special enforcement designation is not given, the LAPD will only be able to cite as infractions violations of the American with Disabilities Act pursuant to 4118A1, and not for lying in a tent at the underpass. To date, Councilmember Rahman has failed to designate any special enforcement zones, unlike council members in neighboring districts. It is now time for Councilmember Rahman to designate this underpass as a special enforcement zone. Outreach alone will not solve the problem for the service resistant, so a legal enforcement tool must be also an option. A designation will ensure that our residents, disabled persons, and children can safely travel through the underpass without obstructions. We've all heard the Zooms and the public comments, people actually in tears, begging, pleading, crying for something to be done. So we're answering the call of our stakeholders that many of us have met with in person and on Zoom, who have been begging for us to do something, and we're doing this. Michael, you have 1 minute. What are your thoughts?
Okay, on this motion, I think it's important to recognize that there are only 5 south to north exits through Studio City in the case of a disaster. Whether the disaster is an earthquake or something falling from the sky, nobody can anticipate when that emergency will take place. I value the need for a disaster/emergency plan. If an employee of mine knowingly ignored a blocked exit door in a warehouse, they would likely lose their job. In the world of safety, we live by the phrase, if you see it, you own it. If you ignore it, you condone it. Seeing a blocked emergency exit and taking no action affects the well-being of the entire community. We have 5 emergency exits south to north in Studio City. I ask that Councilmember Rahman own the issue and ensure that the emergency exit on Coldwater Canyon remain unblocked, and I support the approval of this motion. If we all see it.
And that's time. Thank you.
Thank you for that. OL, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just want to second what Michael was saying. And Scott, thank you for all your help with this. I've been in the community for 8 years now, and it's so obvious the last 2.5 weeks since it's been clean. Nothing on Citizen, no fires, no car accidents, no woman with a knife under the underpass, no guns, no drug use. It's just been, it's like what reality, what we could be living in Studio City. And it's, well, thank you. Hopefully this gets passed. We got to keep it clean. The new Whole Foods is open. The community is thankful and grateful that you guys have done what you've done to clean it up.
Thank you for that. Goat. Go ahead.
Wow, you did it? You did nothing. Goat Puppet got it cleaned. That's right. Now, if I come back here and you impose that 3-minute rule that Mr. Fried Chicken wants to, we got some bus tickets. Yes, isn't it pretty? Nice and clean underpasses. Yes, Goat Puppet adopted that highway and cleared it for you. None of you did anything. Yes, I know how to talk to Nithya Ramen Noodle. All I have to do is go, and she goes, block his number. And then what's my friend do? File a CPRA. File CPRAs, yes. 213-473-7004. That's the number of the head of the Communist Party of California. Yes,
That's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Goat. Excuse me, I'm getting tired. Did we already hear from Jerry? And I'm now going to go to caller user 2.
We did not yet.
We didn't. Jerry, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm really happy that it's cleared out. I live in a condo 2 buildings down from that area, and until they cleaned it out, it was like clockwork, drug use in the stairwell next to our building here. So appreciate it getting cleared out, and I appreciate the motion to try to make this permanent. Thanks.
Thank you, Jerry. And call in user 2. Go ahead, please unmute yourself.
Hi, this is Ruth. I wrote a longer response to this, but I don't have enough time to read it to you. There was a woman, I'm going to call her Mary to protect her privacy. She lost everything in that sweep, and she wasn't offered housing. She was pregnant 9 months, and she was in the hospital giving birth, and then having COVID when you guys took everything from her. She's pushing a baby carriage around, an empty baby carriage around. She had a voucher and no one would take it. There were subcommittee meetings held by Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council about clearing encampments like this one last month. Why didn't you guys have a subcommittee for finding her a fucking house? You see her pushing her carriage around. Please be nice to her. Be better people.
Okay, that's time. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Not seeing any additional hands from the public. Does the board have any comments, questions, or are we ready to vote on this? Jeff? You're muted.
There we go. All I'll say is my son walks home from school through that underpass, and he's witnessed a lot of terrible things. Now he's actually able to walk home from school without any kind of obstructions, illegal drug use and whatnot. So I think this is a needed thing. I don't understand why Rahman's office refuses to do these designations. I know she said that, Councilmember Rahman, it's a long process and it doesn't bring results, but other neighboring council districts are doing this. If she's the only one that doesn't do this, then I can see a migration from the path of least resistance to from path of resistance to the path of least resistance. So we need to do this. The stakeholders are crying for help, and this is just a way to get the council members' attention and hopefully change your mind. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Julie and then Ira.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the motion. I know this was a big trouble spot that we've heard about a lot. I would just say that I wish it covered more areas around schools, but it's a start. That's it.
Thanks, Julie. That's absolutely correct. Ira?
I appreciate this motion as well. I'd also like to mention if any stakeholders, housed or unhoused, needs or has a concern or has an issue, perhaps like the one that was presented via public comment, they can feel free to reach out to us. We can put them in contact with the appropriate council member, and we'd be happy to do that. Mention, write anyone on the board. You can go to igold@studiocitync.org, and I'm happy to assist. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Ira. I just want to alert the public, we already finished public comment on this agenda item. So we're not going back to public comment. Ira just finished, and I don't see any more hands from the board. I think we're ready to vote on this.
Okay, we're voting on 10A. Ira, your hand's still up. You're just didn't lower your hand, correct?
Correct, sorry.
Okay. Kim Clements.
Yes.
Dean Cutler.
Yes.
Right here. Ira Gold.
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick.
Yes.
Julie Houlihan,
Yes.
Lisa Karajian,
Yes.
Laura Corian,
Yes.
Scott Mandel,
Yes.
Brandon Moreno, yes. Richard Niederberg,
Yes.
Karen Sorrow,
Yes.
Adam Summer,
Yes.
Alexis Steinberg,
Yes.
Abigail Velasco.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Oh, hey, really quickly, I was gonna let everyone know that because I've received this question a few times. The Equinox is opening in late August, early September. I know I reached out to Lisa probably 10 times to see if she knew. Eventually, they just released it. So if anybody else is excited, there you go.
Sounds great. The news, I guess it's good news if you're watching the clock. Sustainability is not presenting the 3 motions that are listed on the agenda. So those are off the table and there will be no comment or discussion or public comment on those, which leaves us to item 12, adjournment. I just want to thank everybody for their participation, their patience. Some of the presentations did go on a little longer than we had planned. So the agenda was a little ambitious for tonight. And I appreciate you all staying on for 3 hours and 4 minutes. And absent any other comments or questions.
Really quickly about the Beaman Park event, I do have both Adam and Julie's cell phones if you want me to reach out to them separately. I don't know if you're just contacting their office line.
She said she was going to attend, and I really hope that she would have attended. I sent her an email. She hasn't responded.
Offline.
I can just text them if you want, because
you
it's
guys
kind of,
can do
I mean,
that.
it's kind of a big event for them. So
We don't need to do that here. We're all really tired. Contact each other, exchange numbers. I look forward to the event, and it's 10:05. Let's.
Are you motioning to adjourn, Scott?
Yes. Does anyone?
I'll second.
Anybody oppose the adjournment at 10:05 p.m.? I don't think so. Great. Good night, everybody. Thank you all, and we'll see you soon.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.